The president's family dog, Commander, has bitten or attacked Secret Service agents at least 10 times over a span of 4 months. The White House sort of brushing this all off, saying that the White House is a stressful and unique environment for family pets. But if all of this sounds familiar, the first family's other German Shepherd, Major, also had a history of biting people. Major Biden was eventually sent to go live with family friends. It's unclear at this point if Commander also faces a similar fate.
Ah, yes, the mad dogs of the Biden family. Turns out they sent their dogs need comfort dogs, and they sent this mad, rabid, savage, bloodthirsty German Shepherd off to live with another family. It's like Child Protective Services had to come by and remove the dog. They said it's too stressful in the White House for a German Shepherd. I happen to know that there are a number of Belgian Malinois that work there every day. They seem fine. They're not going around biting people. And I think the Bidens are not good dog owners or grandparents, just to name a couple of things. Not to mention custodians of the Constitution and our way of life. That was ABC's Good Morning America. Do they still have that Clinton administration official hosting that show?
He said, it is stressful at the White House.
And then he agreed that it was stressful at the White House? Yeah, it's sure. Yeah. Well, much less stressful, making $17 million a year for ABC News, doing Democrat Party propaganda just like he did when he was at the White House during the Clinton years. George Snuffleupagus, there he is. The diminutive Greek from the Clinton administration. It's an amazing time to be an American, isn't it? And the dog was, their comfort dog needs a comfort dog. They should probably get it a comfort cat. And they could have like Tom and Jerry around the White House. And too stressful, that's what they're saying. I think the White House told the media that didn't Cringe? Cringe said that yesterday from the podium that it's very stressful for a dog in the White House. And then the media faithfully parroted whatever it was that Cringe said from the podium. And everybody said, yeah, it's too stressful for a dog in the White House. That's what's going on. That's definitely what's happening. Boy, the stress. You know, if only they had a backyard or something. If only they had people to walk them and give them milk bones. If only. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? And honestly, you want to be the family that took this dog in. Also, you notice that there are definitely Democrat dogs. They only bite law enforcement. They don't bite anybody else. They just bite law enforcement. And amazingly, demonstrating the discipline of the Secret Service and the Secret Service Uniform Division, they haven't shot either one of the dogs, which you think you might be inclined to do. As a German Shepherd attacks you and bites you and breaks your flesh, sends you to the hospital, which both of their dogs have done now. German Shepherds. German Shepherds are not naturally nasty dogs. They used to be called police dogs.
Yeah, and Biden thinks that's the diet.
Biden thinks that's the diet. The German Shepherd,
they got to eat police.
Oh, they got to. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a part of their part of the police. Got to eat. Got to get some police blood. That proves they're Democrat dogs because their dogs are anti-police. Isn't that amazing? That they must have been trained by the Bidens, huh? Or at least by other Democrats. And so they used to. It's true. My mother, when she was a small child, her father my grandfather had a German Shepherd, but back then it was called a police dog. They didn't call them German Shepherds until after World War II. German Shepherds were called police dogs, at least in my mother's household as a child. And I have these great pictures. My grandfather, Patrick Henry Barnes, my mother's father, was a radio broadcaster from roughly the time that he came home from World War I. And Purple Heart, France, bayoneting the Germans in the trenches, all that stuff. But my grandfather went into the radio business when he came home from France, from Germany, because he after the war, he was assigned to a German POW camp after the war. We held him for a long time because they're Germans. We knew if we let them loose, they'd attack you again, right? and he came home and he started in the radio business in earnest in 1924. And that means, I've never talked about this before here. That means next year, as of next year, my family will have been on the air in the United States of America nonstop for 100 years, for a century, nonstop. And that can't be said for a lot of families because electricity's only been around for, for not too much longer than that when it comes to things like radio. Yeah, my grandfather started on the radio in 1924. Now we're in 2023. So officially next year it will be 100 years my family will have been on the air nonstop. And that's kind of a fun thing. So I got that going. And the reason it occurred to me is, the only reason it occurred to me is because I have a photograph of my mother's German Shepherd, also known as a police dog, at home listening to her master's voice on the radio, right? And the speaker's the size of a bass drum, but my grandfather in the radio station, his dog, his German Shepherd at home listening to him on the radio, and kind of a fun thing. It's part of my family thing, Been in broadcasting for generations now, but that's not important. Let's get to the news of the day. Let's get to Joe Biden. This is one of the great moments of his presidency, I think, was yesterday when he claimed that he ended cancer as we know it. Remember, he was going to have this moonshot for cancer, and then nothing really happened because there was already a moonshot to cure cancer going on when he came in, and he knew that, and I knew that, and everybody knew that if you'd been paying attention. And he's like, oh, I'm going to cure cancer. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but his son, Beau, I guess everybody's heard that about 500 times, but very sad. But Biden skewered for claiming he effectively, quote, ended cancer as we know it, end quote. And why haven't the adults intervened? It's, Joe Biden. Newsweek magazine did a fact check on this, and it's a pretty funny one, I've got to say. Joe Biden says he ended cancer, ? Read the full transcript. And Newsweek magazine is pretending that he didn't say what he said because they're such bootlicks. They are such fluffers that they will lie right to your face. And they link to the video. And here's what he said. Just don't believe your lying ears and your lying eyes, right?
If you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can.
That's a lie.
That's why, and we can. We ended cancer as we know it.
We ended cancer as we know it. But Newsweek magazine says, no, that's not what you heard. You didn't hear we ended cancer as we know it. He said, what did he say? We wanted to, or something like that. They changed what he said at Newsweek magazine. And then they lied to you. And then they have the video posted because it's the internet and everything. Thanks to Al Gore. Peace be upon him. And, the media they lie right to your face. It reminds me of the old Soviet line, right? They lied to us. We know they're lying to us. They know we know they're lying to us, and still they lie to us, and we pretend to believe them. And a lot of Democrats do pretend to believe them. It's a Soviet author that wrote that, a woman. I think she eventually moved to the United States. But this is really ridiculous, and I want to get more into the Joe Biden curing cancer. And I got to say, I was doing research this morning because that's what I do on Joe Biden saying that he cured cancer. And somebody already stood up a new website, www.hasjoebidencuredcancer.com. Did you see that? Hasjoebidencuredcancer.com is already a website because people are funny. Not Democrats, but, not intentionally anyway. Yeah. Did Joe Biden say he ended cancer? Yes, he did, but not at Newsweek magazine because they don't. You can show them things and they don't know. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was on the Fox News channel doing a town hall last night with Sean Hannity. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had a lot of stuff to say, and a lot of it was fun. He talked about Joe Biden and Joe Biden being president. And one of the things he talked about was the CIA killing John F. Kennedy, murdering John F. Kennedy. and why they haven't released thousands of pages of documents, the CIA, even though they were ordered to by Congress. Congress passed a bill saying they had to release the documents, and still they didn't do it. It's kind of an amazing thing. It's a secret. You can't know. And I've got audio of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. To share with you from last night's big broadcast. It's a lot of fun. By the way, Hunter Biden is due in court today to get his daddy-style slap on the wrist because it's good to be a Democrat. Republicans in Congress seek to block Hunter Biden's plea deal. The New York Times is very upset about this. They're standing next to themselves. They really are. What does that mean? That means they're beside themselves. I think that was Apu in The Simpsons or something. I'm standing next to myself. But Republicans in Congress seek to block Hunter Biden's plea deal. The New York Times angry with Republicans because they want the plea deal for the Biden family because it's the New York Times is a front group for the Democrat Party and the international left, the Davos left. It's quite extraordinary. Rich lefties, which makes no sense at all, taking over the world and destroying Western civilization because they hate everything that is sacred from the Enlightenment forward. But never mind that. And Hunter Biden's lawyer accused of misleading clerk to block release of damning evidence. The New York Post actually reporting the news. One of Hunter Biden's lawyers called the courthouse where Joe Biden is supposed to be in court at 10 a.m. Eastern time today to say, yeah, whatever, let me out of here. I'm going to pay the IRS with somebody else's money, probably from Ukraine. And as for that gun charge, I don't face charges on guns. Come on. It was my brother Bo's widow that threw the gun in the garbage can behind the high-end grocery store. And then the Secret Service came in and helped cover it up. Remember that? It's good to be a Biden, isn't it? The corrupt roots of the Biden family run deep in Washington, D.C. But you remember that was when Hunter Biden was having an affair with his brother's widow and simultaneously his brother's widow's sister, because the family's very close, especially when the lights go off. Do you think they're all crack smokers too? They're probably clean. It's hard to say. I can't say for sure. And the Hunter Biden investigation, close Biden political aide, worked for the U.S. attorney in Delaware, David Weiss. Turns out a close Biden family aide, and calling Hunter brother and stuff like that, was right there in David Weiss's office from the beginning in Delaware, because the fix is in everywhere you look with the corrupt Biden family. Amazing stuff. And Newsbusters, the great people at Newsbusters, Media Research Center, networks ignore 4 new Biden scandals on Burisma, Hunter's life of corruption, and on and on. And Newsbusters has the story. The television networks, so if you get your news from ABC, NBC, and CBS, you're not getting the news. If you get your news from CNN or MSDNC, you're not getting the news. You have no idea what's going on in the world or in the country or in politics. You have no idea what's going on because they don't cover the news. They cover it up. It's quite amazing. And they give out awards for this stuff. Lucite blocks and golden statuettes are issued for their corruption. It's good to be a Democrat. Amazing stuff. So I've got that for you. And tomorrow is National Whistleblower Day. Whistleblower Day. Interestingly enough, the Democrats think that's like hunting season, where they go out and they hunt whistleblowers because they don't like whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are blowing the whistle on them, and therefore they must be destroyed. So the fake news media, I think the Washington Post, has still not mentioned the 2 IRS whistleblowers that testified about Biden family corruption in open session on Capitol Hill last week. And I believe the Washington Post has still not mentioned this momentous occasion, this gigantic event in American political history, because they're too busy choking to death on trying to impress the Bidens. Just amazing. National Whistleblower Day tomorrow. The Democrats hate whistleblowers. Why do they hate whistleblowers? Also, I've got a story. This I mentioned it yesterday. We learned of it while we were on the radio yesterday on the air. Bronny James, not a great name, the son of LeBron James, 18-year-old world-class athlete, had they're calling it a cardiac arrest rather than calling it a heart attack. 18-year-old super athlete had a cardiac arrest while doing a little warm-up playing basketball. He was on his way to University of Southern California, USC, to play basketball for them. One of the great high school prospects in the country, and he dropped from cardiac arrest at the age of 18 day before yesterday. We found out about it yesterday. And whatever you do, don't talk about vaccines because, you can't talk about vaccines when you're talking about 18-year-old athletes having heart attacks. And Elon Musk tweeted about it. The richest man in the world and probably the most famous athlete in the world involved in this story. The news media is doing a lot of not covering this story. But it's an amazing one. Yes, it is. And we are at 888-630-9625. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Today is also Mailbag Day. And taking questions now for the mailbag by way of a form of the Chris Plant newsletter, signing up for the Chris Plant newsletter, which is a daily occurrence, and it couldn't be more excellent. Let's go to the telephones. What do you say? Let's go to Frank calling from Ashburn, Virginia. Frank, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, love your show, love your TV show. It seems like we're doing a lot of covering of the Hunter Biden thing when it doesn't matter if he gets 200 years. Joe's going to pardon him before he leaves office. The only thing Hunter has to worry about is Joe not tripping and hitting his head before he can pardon him. That is, of course, an excellent point.
Do you think, because, look, they just parade their corruption around right out here in public, don't they? So he wouldn't mind, and the New York Times would write a story about how he's suffering from drug abuse, and they'll lie to us that only started after his brother Beau's death, which I keep hearing in the news media, but that's a lie. And you're right. Why would Joe? We should fully expect Joe to pardon him, shouldn't we?
And the family. And you remember how early in the Trump administration they were wondering if Trump could pardon himself. I think in a separate action after he's pardoned all of his buds and family, he'll consider pardoning himself. We'll test that constitutionally.
That is a fun idea. Now, I believe that you cannot pardon yourself preemptively, though. I think that's right, Frank? And you have to be convicted of something first and then be pardoned. I'm pretty sure that's true. Can't say, hey, next year I might be convicted of something, I'm going to pardon myself. Ha, 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 ha. I mean, we're not the Philippines yet. Bum, 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 bum. Well, happy Wednesday. It's hump day, in the Clinton household. We all know what that means. Hillary Clinton's got to find something to do out of the house after waking up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit on their linoleum kitchen floor, one of their many multi-million-dollar mansions purchased with their ill-gotten gains. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? And also speaking of multi-million-dollar mansions and ill-gotten gains, the Obama family with their $12 million Martha's Vineyard estate on the ocean, not worried about the rising ocean levels at all, is he? But he did say he could control them. And their chef, this terrible, horrible, tragic story, they have a personal chef. They had a personal chef, and he drowned. Close to the estate. And it's a crazy story. And then it gets even crazier because another former White House chef, years ago now, also drowned. Now, not everybody drowns, and not everybody's a former White House chef. I think statistically this is a pretty bizarre thing. but I'm going to get into that a little bit later on, too. At least I'm going to try to. They very often give me way too much for the 3 hours that I have. And I tell you this Bronny James story, the 18-year-old son of LeBron James that had not a heart attack, but a cardiac arrest. And now we're differentiating. It's not a myocardial infarction either. It's not a heart attack. It was a cardiac arrest. We suddenly are differentiating. And the news media is being very studious to not discuss the possible relationship between the 18-year-old super athlete suffering a cardiac arrest while playing a little basketball, which is what he does, and going to USC to play basketball there. Apparently one of the nation's top high school prospects, USC got him, and local, convenient. And at the age of 18, he goes into cardiac arrest and drops to the floor, taken to the ICU. He is fortunately out of the ICU now, the intensive care unit, but he's still in the hospital. And there are experts everywhere. Experts saying, well, he'll probably never play college basketball or any other kind of basketball because he's got some major medical issues. And the only person that is out in the open saying, hey, what about the vaccine thing? Because, there is an established relationship. And I've got a news story on this. They use the weasel words of the Democrat left when it comes to heart issues and blood clot issues and the vaccine. Boy, oh boy, crazy. So I want to get into that story because it's nuts. Nuts. All right. In the meantime, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Matt. Matt calling from St. Louis, Missouri. Matthew, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. Happy Hump Day in Dog Bite-topia. And I predict the grandfather-in-chief, and if he's the grandfather-in-chief, that makes 75-plus million of us Navy Joan Roberts. But I predict he's going to get rid of Commander the same way he got rid of Major, because he's realizing that Cobra could go horribly wrong, if he happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they named Commander when they got him because, with Trump gone and the Afghanistan debacle, they realized there was no longer a commander-in-chief in the White House, so they needed one. Same reason the Redskins became the Commanders. They realized there was no commander-in-chief in D.C., so they needed a commander in D.C. But I thought the Redskins should have changed to the Surrenders or the White Flags, except that had white in it, so that was a problem. Or I settled on the Capitulators. It sort of works in capital, like, the hockey team, but it also commemorates the likes of, establishment status quo. It's like the Rhino and Turtles clothing, son of a Mitch McConnell, and Mitt for Brains Romney, a.k.a. Pierre Delecto.
You called in loaded for bear this morning. You've got to have notes in front of you. I can feel the pen in your hand and the notepad. I think it must be a legal notepad. You came in with a ton of stuff, and I had a very simple on the screen. It says, Matt in St. Louis, what will happen to Commander? Little did I know you had like a Las Vegas routine, spring-loaded and ready to go.
Oh, I try, Chris. Just trying to hoping to make your show better if I can.
That is great.
Accomplish that.
You did very much so. Boy, that was great stuff. Matt in St. Louis, you having is it too hot in St. Louis? Are the MAGA Republicans responsible for a hot day in St. Louis today?
Yeah, it did rain, but we are in a heat advisory, so I guess we're all gonna die. We're gonna die soon, and that makes me angry.
Katie Porter's 9-year-old daughter. That is a great reference. We love that soundbite. And since you mentioned that, because we love Democrat Congresswoman Katie Porter from California, she's planning on stealing Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat. Dianne Feinstein had the Chinese spy on her staff in San Francisco for about 20 years. The FBI eventually got around to telling her. And Katie Porter, she was actually in a hearing room when Katie Porter said this, talking about her 9-year-old daughter. Her children should be taken away. She has 3 children. They should all be taken away. She also what'd she pour a bucket of hot potatoes over her ex-husband's head. You can imagine why they're exes. But never mind that. Katie Porter, who was talking to our favorite person, Greta Von Thunberg, by Al Gore's Amazing Internet. And Katie Porter said this.
I told my 9-year-old daughter that I was going to be speaking with you. And I said, what do you think about climate change? And she said, the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon.
The earth is on fire.
And I asked her how that made her feel. And she said it made her feel angry.
Made her feel angry. That's honestly, Matt, do you think she should get a Mother of the Year award or have Child Protective Services come by with a paddy wagon and drag the kids out of the house?
Well, is she a mother or just a birthing person? We don't know. And I had never seen her for the longest time. And when I finally did, I realized she's, more like Katie Portley, because she's definitely not missing any meals, even if she's dumping them on her husband's head.
She wastes food. It's clear that she wastes food based on her pouring the big pot. It was a big pot of hot boiled potatoes, right? And she poured it over her husband's head, her then husband's head, no longer husband's head, at the dinner table, which is in Uzbekistan is a sign of true love, which is kind of interesting for Uzbeks. Uzbeks do that, and it's an expression of true love. But in the United States, not as much. Pretty amazing. Matt, you're that was pretty amazing stuff, I gotta say. Thank you for the call, and have a great St. Louis day.
Thanks. Keep up the great work on the radio and the TV.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. He's referencing my Newsmax show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Newsmax channel, and we're still getting better. In fact, there's something about in the mailbag today. I saw that there is a query. Can you say query? Is that part of the spectrum of? There's a query about that, which is like a question in this case, in the mailbag today about the Newsmax and things. So I look forward to getting to that. Boy, oh boy, there is the Bronny James story. Still, just I marvel at this, and the news media. It turns out here's my understanding. You're not going to find the cable news people talking a lot about the vaccine, and in the context of 18-year-old super athlete Bronny James, son of LeBron James. Elon Musk is talking about it, but a lot of the news media are not talking about it. You know why? I learned this yesterday. Because the pharmaceutical companies, with their many billions of dollars, many of them taxpayer dollars, have bought up so much advertising at like CNN and CBS News, right? ABC News. What happens is the pharmaceutical companies buy up huge advertising blocks, and then the networks don't talk about them in a negative light. That's called corruption too, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So we got that going for us. And the Hillary Clinton story is one of my favorite stories. It's one of my favorite stories in a long time, not just for the last couple of days. It's an amazing story. Hillary Clinton has a Twitter account, and she's not the brightest woman in the world. She's not the most honest person in the world, is she? But the Democrat Party does have a crazy agenda. And how crazy is their agenda? It's very, very crazy. And there's a left-wing group, like an environmental group, right? And this left-wing environmental group put out a tweet. It's a tweet. And in the tweet, they attached a bunch of headlines. And in the headlines were all about Phoenix being really hot because it's hot outside in the summertime in the Northern Hemisphere. And when this environmental group put out a collection of headlines, Hillary Clinton decided to jump in because she had more to say about it. And she blamed Republicans, in fact, MAGA Republicans, not just Republicans, but MAGA Republicans, for the hot weather in Phoenix, Arizona in the summertime. All right? And God don't make little green apples. It don't rain in Indianapolis in the summertime. Some group called CAP Action, C-A-P Action, they tweeted out headlines, including a Washington Post headline, Phoenix hits record for 19th day of 110 plus degrees in a row. First of all, that's poor grammar, all right? And then a dash with more ahead. CNN headline, 39-day heat wave could last into August after smashing 2,300 plus records. Their records have been smashed. And CNBC, we are in uncharted territory. World records hottest day ever for the third time in just 4 days. It's the hottest day ever. Now, NASA had to correct some dim-witted Democrat last week. Who was that? AOC? It was some dim-witted Democrat, one of them. There are so many of them. And NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, had to jump in and say, actually, we've only been keeping weather records since 1880. So to say, one of them said that it's the hottest day in 120,000 years, right? Some dim-witted Democrat. And NASA jumped in and said, well, actually, we've only been keeping weather records since 1880, but never mind that. And Forbes magazine, all these hysterical headlines. So this CAP Action Group tweeted out the headlines because, the earth is on fire and we're all going to die soon. It's going to be Jonestown pretty soon with the Democrat Party. They're going to ask you to line up for the Kool-Aid. And we should go ahead and wave them ahead. And you can go to the front of the line. I'm going to go get a sandwich. I'll be back later. But Hillary Clinton took their tweet with the headlines about the global warming, and hot days. By the way, China puts out more than twice as much CO2 as the United States of America. And they just announced again yesterday, after laughing at John Kerry, Boltneck, our climate czar, who went to China to sit there for a photo op and mumble. And then he came home on a private jet and told us all to buy Priuses or something like that, which are filled with toxic batteries that are mined by slave child labor in Africa under the direction of the Chinese communists. So you can have your fashion car in the United States of America, right? Which you still have to plug in and get energy for from a source somewhere, but never mind that. So Hillary Clinton retweeted the CAP Action hysterical headline tweet. And Hillary Clinton, now the CAP Action people, they tweeted out, MAGA Republicans are pouring fuel on the climate crisis fire. MAGA Republicans are, because it's 110 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona in July in 2023. Therefore, it must be the Republicans' fault. Now, if they had a brain, they'd be out in the street playing with it because these people, MAGA Republicans, are pouring fuel. I got an idea. You guys should stop murdering people. How about that? We're on track to have a 20-year high in homicides in D.C. Every single murderer a Democrat. If there were any Republican anywhere, it'd be front page news. So that's how I know. So Hillary Clinton retweeted this. MAGA Republicans are pouring fuel on the climate crisis. And Hillary Clinton added to it her little nuggets of wisdom. Hot enough for you, she wrote. Thank a MAGA Republican, or better yet, vote them out of office. Now, I got to say, that is mental illness right out here in the light of day, in public. Hillary Clinton should be taken away by men in white coats. Someone with a big net should be chasing her down the street. I don't think she'd get very far. And that is, and the news media, so-called, they don't even comment on this. It's like, well, yeah, the Republicans, because they didn't vote for the climate crisis bill, which passed last year. And the Democrats are pushing, and they want to take away your gas stove and your hot water heater, and they want to take away heat in the winter time. They want you to eat cold food. And if you bathe at all, bathe in cold water, because I've been talking about this for years, haven't I? They want a pre-Columbian America. They want to revert to a pre-Christopher Columbus America. The patriarchy, if the patriarchy as they define it, and they don't define it, if the patriarchy were to disappear today, as the Democrats apparently wish, would we have electricity a year from now? Every morning when you get out of bed, thank the patriarchy.
What's the weirdest thing about you?
The weirdest thing about me is that I don't sweat.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton. Blame the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, no less.
I'm really not even a human being. I was constructed in a garage.
Every now and then she tells the truth. It's rare, but it happens. And blaming the opposing political party for hot days, for the weather, is probably more insane than just about anything I've ever heard a politician say. She's completely nuts. That's the stuff of the certifiably insane. And it's just fine because, you know why? Democrats. Because Democrats are completely insane. And that's the kind of stuff that they say. Whack-a-doodle-do. Hillary Clinton also in, this is in 2021, I think it was. Hillary Clinton jabs Ted Cruz. Don't vote for anyone you wouldn't trust with your dog, is the headline. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton took aim at Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz Friday for his decision to fly his family to Cancun, Mexico, amid devastating winter storms. That's what a lot of people do. And allegedly leaving his poodle behind. So you're supposed to bring your dog on vacation to Mexico, which you can't do. It's another country. You can't just bring dogs into other countries. Hillary's a stupid, vicious person. Don't vote for anyone you wouldn't trust with your dog. Nobody would trust you with their dog, you lunatic. Clinton said Friday following a photo taken by a Houston photographer that showed Ted Cruz's dog, Snowflake, dog named Snowflake, looking out from a dark house. He's supposed to bring his dog to Cancun with him. Otherwise, you shouldn't vote for him, which, again, you can't do. And now, MAGA Republicans are guilty of creating hot weather in Phoenix, Arizona in the summertime. That is demented.
You know?
She is out of her mind. And if you shouldn't vote for anyone that you wouldn't trust with your dog, I guess Joe Biden is out of the question. Since their first dog they had to kill, Major, and the second one has attacked, 7 or 10 Secret Service officers and only law enforcement. I don't think they should be trusted with dogs.